Last month, we launched the totally redesigned IAmTimCorey.com website. We built the site using just HTML, CSS, and a bit of custom JavaScript. I received a number of questions from viewers about the site, such as why didn't we use ASP.NET Core or Blazor? Why didn't we use an API or SQL? And why didn't we use a tool like Angular, React, or Vue? People are also curious about the technologies we did use, how we hosted the site, and more. To answer those questions, you have to know how to build the right website for you and your situation. In this video, we're going to walk through the process of creating the right website for the IAmTimCorey.com site, and we'll answer some of these questions along the way. Now, just so you know, I'm not going to be able to cover everything about the creation of the IAmTimCorey website in this video. That would take at least 7.5 hours. I know that because I created an entire course just on that. We just relaunched the Web Development Master Course on IAmTimCorey. One of the bonus courses included the purchase of the Web Development Master Course is an exclusive behind-the-scenes course titled Building the IAmTimCorey Website. In it, we cover the planning process, the implementation steps, the technical challenges, how you work together as a team, a review of the source code, answers to many of the frequently asked questions, and my advice on taking on a process like this. As an added bonus, and for the first time ever, you will also meet my entire team. We have a on-video chat with all of my employees where we talk through the process of working together and how that process worked. Now, I will cover some of these topics in the video today, but if you want the more detailed look into how to build the IAmTimCorey website, as well as if you want to see my team, then you can purchase the Web Development Master Course. Okay, let's jump into the website as it stands today. Now, this website already has changes that will be coming about in just a few days. In fact, this website is a little behind what you'll see when you launch it from this video. And the reason why is because this video is being created before we launch the Web Development Master Course. So if you scroll down, you're going to see the foundation in web development. Just as an FYI, this course, the Foundation Web Development, is the same as the Web Development Master Course. We just renamed it to better reflect what it is. It sets a great foundation for web development, but it really is a master course, what we call a pillar course. If you take the course, you should be confident in being a web developer when you walk out. Okay, so the site isn't updated yet, but that's okay because you're going to see it as it was launched. So websites will evolve over time. Fixes will come out, changes will be made. And in fact, that was the whole purpose of building this custom site. This custom site was designed to be something that could grow over time. That was one of the reasons why we moved off of where we were. We used to be hosted by Teachable. So Teachable hosts our courses, and they still do. But we used to also have our website through Teachable, which was a drag and drop builder website, which limited how much we could do with our website. We wanted to be able to provide more resources and grow the site in ways that just weren't possible with a custom builder like that. So for instance, on this page, we have the start of the training calculator. Now this training calculator is going to grow and improve a lot in the coming days, but this is the very start. We wanted a way to have an apples to apples comparison between taking the C# Master Course, for example, or the Web Development Master Course, compared to going to a university, a boot camp, or being self-taught. And so you get to choose how much do you expect your salary to be at the end? How many hours do you expect to put into studying per week? And then what the result is compared to the other options. So that's just version 1. Version 2 will actually have a link down here that has a custom path just for you based upon how many hours a week you intend to spend and what you want to accomplish in the end. So stuff like that was not really possible with a custom builder. And so we undertook really the difficult process of creating our own site. Because you know what? It's a whole lot easier just to drag and drop some things on a screen. But instead, we hand-coded this entire site. So in order to answer the questions like, why didn't we choose this other technology, or why did we go this way, you need to start from the beginning. And this is where a lot of people, especially who are newer to this process, will get tripped up. So here is pro tip number 1. You need to have a goal. What's your goal with this site? What are the things this site is going to do? And then how do you best accomplish that goal? So for us, the goals for this site were that it was going to be simple. We did not want to have a complex system that was difficult to manage. The more complex a site is, with more technologies and so forth, the more work it takes and the more high-level skills it takes. I wanted this to be a site that practically anybody could maintain and update. Thus, we wanted something simple. I also wanted a lightning-fast site. One of the things you may not know, and I do teach this in the Web Development Master Course, is that Google and Bing and other search engines will rank your site based upon how fast it is. If a site is slow to load, people often will not wait for it to load. And so if you go to a page and it takes forever to load, that's a problem, because Google will say, you know what? I think you're not what people are going to be looking for, because Google does not want you to click on a search result and then go, nope, not it, and come back out right away. They want you to find the results you want right away. And so they're going to promote sites that are faster. And so a fast site moves up the search rankings. So SEO, search engine optimization, one of the big things you can do is make your site faster. Now, we also want a site that was accessible. One of the things that websites often get wrong is they design this really pretty website that has all this cool stuff on here. It loads up great, it looks great, and then when they actually go to use it with anything but a person who has full visual and keyboard and mouse access and all the rest, when you do anything else, it's hard to use. For example, what if you're blind? And you may have the question, wait, do blind people use the internet? Absolutely, they use the internet. They just don't use it in the same way that you might, which is they may be using a screen reader to read the website. One of the things that I come down very hard on in the Web Development Master Course is the concept of HTML being about structure, not look and feel, structure. And then CSS is about design and making your site look the way you want it to. And the reason that's important to differentiate is because when you have the correct structure, it's more accessible for screen readers. It's more logically laid out so that it's understandable. For instance, this is our only H1 on this page. So header 1, we only have one because an H1 is a title that you want on the page. So all of these titles down here are H2s. And then all these smaller titles underneath this title are H3s, and so on, because it gives you a structure to follow so that when you go through the screen reader, you can see the major sections and the things under those sections. Major section and the things under it. Major section, major section. So it's really easy to say, oh, I want to skip down to the training calculator, and it's a major section underneath the title, Learn to Code Like a Pro. So things like that are important to set up and do well. And so I want a website that was very, very accessible to as many people as possible. So that was important to me. I also wanted something that was flexible, meaning I wanted something that was able to be adjusted and changed and grow over time. Because quite frankly, this is the very minimum version of what I wanted to give you. We wanted to get something out there. Again, minimum viable product, MVP. That's important to do. This is an MVP. This is our very first version. There is a long list in the backlog of all the things we want to do to give you more resources. The whole point was to give you more resources. We have a resources tab, and there's some great resources here. The YouTube channel, of course, dev questions. By the way, listen on the podcast or watch. You have links for both. My blog, which, by the way, we are working to get more content going to the blog, including taking content from the YouTube channel and converting it into blog posts in case you want to read instead of watch or refer back to with the written version versus the video version. We have a forum for our students, and we have a C# projects page where you can check out and figure out which C# project is right for your situation. So there's the what I would call the bare minimum resource. Now, there's a lot of resources, but it's kind of the bare minimum of what we want to provide. We want to provide a better learning path, and this website will be flexible enough to add that and grow with that. We want to be able to, one of the things was group the courses better. And that's something that we did here where, you know what, now you have a more logical view on, oh, these are the pillar courses. These are specialization courses. And these are practice courses, ways to practice your skills. Kind of grouping them together makes more sense as to what each are. But we wanted that flexibility to grow and change over time as we add more and more resources. So those were our goals, okay? Simple, lightning fast, accessible, and flexible. Those are the goals we set out for with this website. With those goals in mind, you have to look at what are your options and what makes the most sense. And so with a website, what I do is I start with the basics. A website has to have HTML. It just has to. That's what a website is HTML. And CSS to make it look right. So that's where I started. And I said, okay, HTML and CSS. That's what we're going to start with. However, let's evaluate the other options. Do you want to make this into a ASP.NET Core website? Do we want to have a Blazor site? Do we want to use Angular, React, or Vue for our front end? And for each of those answers, I came back with no. And you may say, Tim, that's weird because you teach C#. Why wouldn't you use C#? And the answer is because it didn't fit my goals for this project. So C# and all the different things in it are like tools in your toolbox, but you don't use every tool on every job. You use the right tool for the job. And in this case, I wanted lightning fast. I wanted simple. Those two things led me to say that, you know what, HTML and CSS are the fastest I can be. And so anything else will be a little slower. And then I also wanted, and this is kind of a secondary goal, but I wanted this to be lightning fast around the globe. And one of the things that comes with hosting is you usually host it in one location. So I said, you know what? If we just use HTML and CSS and JavaScript, we can host this on Azure Static Web Apps. And Azure Static Web App is actually hosted around the globe. It's called a Content Delivery Network, or CDN. And so that was another big selling point to using just HTML and CSS and JavaScript. And so when it came to Angular, React, or Vue, which are JavaScript, I didn't see a need for them because they didn't add any value. They add complexity, which again, my goal was simplicity. They add complexity. They didn't really add any value that overcame that complexity. So this is our site. Our site is HTML documents with a little bit of CSS, okay, one file, and one file of JavaScript that's custom JavaScript. And then we have we have a couple of things we rely on. All right. So we do rely on FastSpring. FastSpring is our payment system. So when you see these prices pop up, which the prices may be different for you because it applies the price for your region, including any relevant taxes or VAT. So this price that you see on the screen might be different than the price you see on your screen. And that's because of your region. It's not because of the change in how we price things. Okay. But this price and this cart button is also a checkbox button. So if you click this and it goes into the cart, notice it goes to the cart up here. There's now a checkbox button, which you click the checkbox button, it takes it out of the cart, just so you know. So all that right there is based upon API from a company called FastSpring. They are who handles our purchases. So if you were to add this to the cart and you say, hey, let's check out, this is FastSpring. FastSpring handles, notice, sold and fulfilled by FastSpring. That's the one of the things we depend on. The other thing we depend on is we use Bootstrap 5. So those are the two things that this website depends on. Everything else is just hand-coded. And the reason for that is because of speed and simplicity. So everything in here is about speed and simplicity. Now, one of the questions that came up was, yeah, but Tim, if you don't use one of those cool tools, then you get repetition. So for instance, if you notice, and let's pull up the code here in VS Code, and let's go to the index page, and we're going to see at the top of the index page, we have this header section. And there's a whole bunch of header stuff. And if you went to the other pages, you'd find that same header there, copied and pasted. And you may say, Tim, that's not dry. You know about dry, don't repeat yourself. So why are you repeating yourself? And the answer is because of speed and simplicity. It's actually faster and simpler to repeat ourselves than it is to create some type of system to eliminate that duplication, but in its place, add complexity and or reduce our ability to be lightning fast. So, for example, we could have used ASP.NET Core Razor pages. In fact, that was a heavy consideration for this website. That was one of the things we considered. But that would have reduced or eliminated a lot of this repetition. However, it would have meant that we were running building all of our pages on the server side, which is very fast as long as your server side is fast. But we could not host that in Azure Static Web Apps because it's not a static web app. It's now a dynamic web app built on the server. It's a server-side language. And so we'd have to host that in Azure Web Apps, which is different in the fact that it's not a content delivery network. It's instead something that's hosted in one location. So if I host it in the central US, which I believe is near Chicago, if that's hosted there, well, then if you're in Australia, you'd have to go halfway around the globe to get access to my website, which just based upon the speed of light is going to be a little bit slower. So that would be problematic. So I could then create 2 or 3 or 4 different hosts in different places and just mirror that. But that adds complexity. It also adds cost. So that's something that I was not willing to sacrifice in order to reduce my repetition. This repetition is less painful than hosting on multiple different servers and paying a premium to do so. Now, you may ask, so Tim, what do you pay? How much do you pay for this website? And the answer is $9 a month. And that's because I splurged. I could host this, as I am right now, for free. But I chose to spend the $9 a month to make sure that as my web load exceeded a certain threshold, that it didn't get turned off. Because Azure Static Web Apps are free for hobby use and in small websites. But as soon as you hit a certain threshold for the number of hits per month and some other things, you can look at the Azure Static Web Apps, that's when it turns it off because it's free. I mean, it's there to be more for testing purposes. If you want the production version with some additional niceties, you pay $9 per month. So $108 a year gets me hosted around the world. And you may say, well, Tim, is your traffic really that heavy? Well, let's go to Cloudflare, which is our DNS provider. I just pulled this up. This is the traffic to IAmTimCorey for the past 24 hours. We've had 69,000 requests, 3.76 gigabytes of traffic. This again, in 24 hours. And really, in those 69,000 requests, the visits is what's important. 43,000 visits, 44,000 page views. So that is our traffic. So 44,000 page views a day. That's up, 1% since yesterday. And that's not something we're pushing right now. We're not pushing people heavily towards go to IAmTimCorey.com. But we have 44,000 people a day hitting the site. That's something I want to have to be rock solid. Because, for example, when Black Friday rolls around, so we have a Black Friday sale every year, which Black Friday is the Friday after Thanksgiving celebrated in the US. So that's going to be the fourth Thursday in November is Thanksgiving. So the day after that, we'll have a pretty good sale on usually most, if not all, of our courses and other products. So at that point, traffic will be greatly increased to the website. We're talking 4, 5, 8 times, 10 times the traffic in a day compared to this normal. And you know what? I want my site to be rock solid and ready to handle that additional load. The way that happens is by making sure that it's lightning fast, it's simple, and it's published around the globe on multiple servers so you have redundancy and so that it's very quick to load for you in your region. Okay, so that answers the question, what's our traffic like? Now, I've just touched on the tip of the iceberg here. Hopefully, I've answered some questions. I've kind of shown you a little behind the scenes. You'll see some stuff in here. Whenever you see a screenshot like this, always check out things like the pull requests. I'm sorry, the commits that were made. This one kind of made me laugh. Fix stupid fast spring issue, one of them. Okay, this is the kind of stuff you go through when you build a site, and we'll talk more about that in the full bonus course. But building a site can be tough. Okay, it can be tricky. This site is only about 12 pages, but yet it took us months to get these 12 pages out to you. Now, changes will happen more rapidly going forward, but it is something where, it seems like a simple thing until you start building it. So it's important to have those goals in mind so that you know in the middle of the process, am I making the right choice or not? Do I need to change or not? Should I take on that dependency or not? We were really harsh on dependencies. We did not take on dependencies we didn't absolutely think we needed. Because every time you have a dependency, you have something kind of holding you back from moving forward when new versions come out or when things happen. And so we want to make sure that we were not held back from changes and growth on our site. So hopefully that answers some of your questions about the website. Hopefully gives you a bit of a behind the scenes tour. No, this is not yet open source. That is something we're moving towards. I would like to make the IAmTimCorey website code open source, but we're not there yet. However, just to be totally clear here, if you go to IAmTimCorey.com and you hit F12, you can check out my code. You can see the JavaScript. If you want to see it, now it is minified. So yeah, there is that. We are working to get this in a place where we're comfortable making it public, but there are some hurdles to get over as far as our internal processes and our internal preparation, as opposed to our external website that we need to work through. For example, the Web Development Master Course, we've been working on getting that up and ready and getting that set, but we haven't wanted to show you yet because we want to make sure that everything was in place before we did. Well, you can't really do work in secret while also having an open source site. So there is some balance there you got to figure out how to do right. But if you want to check things out, you can poke around and see what we've done, how we've done some of this stuff. And you can, definitely inspect the page, play around, and figure out the different parts of IAmTimCorey. Now, all this content, the entire site was built using the techniques and technologies that I show you how to use in the Web Development Master Course. I keep coming back to that because that is the place to learn web development. So check that out, especially now since you can get a free bonus course that is this full behind the scenes 7.5-hour course. All right, thanks for watching. Hopefully that answered your questions. If you have more questions, leave them down in the comments. Maybe I'll be able to answer some of them right in the YouTube comments. Thanks for watching, and as always, I am Tim Corey.